Hey, hey!
Hello, and welcome back to our podcast.
Yeah, this is another My Thing, Your Thing.
With Hannah.
And Donovan. And this is my thing.
Yes.
So, as many of you know, I'm a musician. I've talked about this a lot. I also am a big fan of movies.
We have a podcast about it.
Yes. Weird cult movies. Big fan. Just kind of a thing I'm really into. This, though, it started as a cult film, but it sort of transcended that label and has kind of just become a classic, just period.
Yes.
It started out as kind of this, like, really small, low-budget cult film. And this is Spinal Tap.
Ooh.
Yeah. One of the... I would say there is a canon of films that if you're a musician, you sort of just need to watch to kind of, like, understand what it's like to be a musician. I love, like, Almost Famous, one of my favorite movies of all time.
We know your love for Frank.
Yes, Frank, which may be a future episode. There's a few other really good ones. Some of them are, like, historical documentary type things. Like, you have to see some kind of monster. You need to know what kind of fucking, like, shitty idiots that Metallica is. But you also need to appreciate how, like, good a band Metallica was, and also realize how they're just a bunch of, like, wieners.
Yeah.
Like, it's an important thing. And in a weird way, like, that's the real world version of Spinal Tap. Because Spinal Tap is basically about a bunch of fucking wieners in a band. I'm getting ahead of myself, though. Hannah, have you seen Spinal Tap?
I have seen Spinal Tap, but it's been a really long time. There was a hot second where I was, like, trying to watch all of the 80s classics, so I watched, like, Spinal Tap and Rambo and Terminator and one of the other Arnold Schwarzenegger ones, whichever one where he's, like, trying to run through a compound and save his daughter. I don't remember what it was called. But, like, I watched a bunch of 80s movies to try and, like, get a feel for all of the 80s classics, and
Sure.
I don't remember most of them, actually.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. They kind of all run together after a while. Sorry, Gen X, you guys grew up on that.
Yeah.
We didn't. But Spinal Tap is still very important to me growing up. And not only because of the movie itself and being a musician, but also because of the series of mockumentary films that a lot of the people who are in this would go on to make. Which is going to probably be... This is probably going to be a series. We're probably going to talk about them, too.
Yeah. These are all movies that I am aware of and semi-familiar with, but have not actually sat down and watched.
Yeah. Also, relevance, because Spinal Tap 2 is about to come out.
Exactly.
Yep. By the time you hear this, it may already be out. Hey, this is relevant. This is a relevant thing we're doing, Hannah. First time. Hopefully not the last time.
Yeah, we started recording the Bond episodes before they announced that they were doing new Bond movies, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Before Amazon even bought it, there was still a question about what was going to happen with that. So, the idea for Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
It kind of started in the late 70s. Rob Reiner, you may know him. He was a director, actor,
the name is
comedian.
Very familiar, yes.
Yes. We'll talk about more of the stuff that he did. He produced a television show in the late 70s called The TV Show. And the TV show was kind of a satire of all television at the time, but they were doing a bit that was sort of a parody of a show called Midnight Special.
Okay.
Midnight Special was like a variety show that existed at the time. A lot of like music and comedy and, stuff would be on that show. And one of the things that would happen is bands would perform on it. And they would be introduced by Wolfman Jack. Do you know who Wolfman Jack? Yeah.
Yeah.
So they did an episode of the TV show where Rob Reiner played Wolfman Jack, which is perfect. And he introduces England's loudest band, Spinal Tap. Spinal Tap is, like, it's a bigger band, but it's mainly three guys. It's Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, and Harry Shearer. Mm-hmm. We will talk about all the stuff that they did later after the movie, because, like, those guys have done so much stuff.
Prolific workers.
Prolific. But at the time, this was 1978, 1979, they were not super famous. McKean was probably the most famous because he was Lenny on Laverne and Shirley.
Okay. I thought you were about to say The Simpsons for a second.
No, The Simpsons would not be out for a while.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So Michael McKean, Lenny on Laverne and Shirley. Christopher Guest had been a writer for National Lampoon. He had done some other stuff. Harry Shearer actually started as a child actor when he was a kid. He did some episodes, if I'm not mistaken. He made his film debut in an Abbott and Costello film. In the
really?
50s.
Which
Abbott
one?
And Costello Go to Mars.
I have not seen that one.
Yeah, it's not.
I also watched a bunch of Abbott and Costello. At one point.
Not one of the ones that people remember.
Fair.
He was also in the pilot episode of Leave It to Beaver. He played the Eddie Haskell character, but his parents were like, "Hey, we want you to do some acting, but we don't want you to
be an actor.
Be not even necessarily be an actor, but we don't want you to do a regular series because that's going to take up your whole life. It would be better if you did acting here and there."
This was also before a lot of child protection laws for actors, right?
Yeah, so
they didn't probably require him to do so many hours of school or have a tutor on site or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that year he also got hired, Harry Shearer did, as a writer and cast member of Saturday Night Live.
Oh.
So, and in fact, all three of these guys would do Saturday Night Live stuff.
Yeah.
So, all of them, they were comedy troupes, writing for that kind of thing. They were also all three accomplished musicians. Mm-hmm. They played a bunch of instruments. Some of them had actually even been in bands that had record contracts and did some big performances.
Sure.
None of them really ever went anywhere, but they were familiar with the world.
Right.
And so the three of them and Rob Reiner kind of did this bit, especially the three of them, where they just played these dumb British rock guys in a heavy metal band, basically. Yep. And it was such a funny idea, and the performance that they did on the TV show, they loved it so much. They were we have to do something else with this.
Sure.
There's no way we can just let this go. We've got to keep doing something. And so they spent a couple years kind of thinking about it. Basically, after a while, they had come up with an idea for a movie about roadies.
Uh-huh.
And they thought that would be kind of neat. It would be fun to do a movie about people who are in the music business, but they're not the stars. They're the side people, that kind of thing. But then I guess the movie Roadie, which actually came out in 1980 or something, 1981. Someone else did that, and they were okay, well, we can't do that.
Well, dang, there goes that idea.
Mm-hmm. They sort of eventually settled on this idea to make a documentary.
Sure.
Or mockumentary. Basically, it was in the style of The Song Remains the Same or The Last Waltz or something, but fake.
Sure.
Mockumentaries kind of already existed, but they were more arty films. They were, and there was even already a band mockumentary called All You Need Is Cash, which was sort of a takeoff on the Beatles. Eric Idle was a part of that.
Yeah.
But that was a specific satire. This was just more of a general kind of satire. This was going to be more broadly done. And those mockumentaries were all very small. They weren't big, huge successes. This would kind of break the idea of the mockumentary into the mainstream. Although, again, I'm getting ahead of myself. So they started to write a script. And they realized they can't write a script. There's just nothing. How do you write a script?
Yeah, how do you write a documentary script?
Yeah, you can't really do it. So, they were well, we need to give something to movie executives so that they'll give us money to make a movie.
Yeah, you can't just walk into a guy and be hey, I would like to make a movie of a mockumentary about band, money please.
Yeah, exactly.
They need some sort of treatment.
Yeah, so they had a hell of a time with that. So they said, okay, let's make a 20-minute short film. So they did. They made a film. It was called Spinal Tap, The Last Tour. This was made in 1981, and it basically has all the same actors from the movie, with a few differences, and some of the same sort of scenes and things that they would eventually do in the movie they do in this 20-minute kind of short film.
Sure.
And that was kind of just to show off the idea. This is what we're working on. Please give us money.
But bigger money, please.
Yeah. It had a few problems. The main problem was that it was the interplay between all the guys was kind of funny, but there was no plot. They were just talking, and some of the ideas were not fully fleshed out yet. They would work on that later. basically every studio in Hollywood was like, nah, we have no idea. We don't really get it. They showed it to test audiences, and test audience were kind of like, I don't understand. Why would you make a movie? I've never heard of this band. That was sort of the idea.
Yeah. People are just confused.
Yeah, they're like, these guys just sound really dumb. I don't get it. They actually worked with a cinematographer named Peter Smokler. Peter Smokler had actually done a bunch of rock concert films at that point. He did like Jimi Hendrix recordings. He did. There was a show at Big Sur, California, that he did like a concert film of. You know, he was known for filming rock music stars.
Sure.
And basically, Peter went to Rob Reiner, was like, I don't get it. This is just how rock stars are. This is actually how they are. They're not making fun of anything.
Perhaps you need to go bigger, because this is just how people are.
But eventually, it caught the attention of Norman Lear. Do you know that name?
No.
Norman Lear is not really known nowadays, but like 50 years ago, he was like a power player in media.
Okay.
He was the creator and producer of All in the Family, Sanford and Sons, The Jeffersons, all that kind of stuff. Like, he was just known for that. He was also really big in lefty politics. Like, he was a big supporter of that stuff. Nowadays, we think of Hollywood as being really lefty. Like, he's one of the reasons why we think that, you know, because he was like...
Yeah, he was putting a black family on TV in the 70s. Like, yeah.
He really liked the idea. He thought it was really funny. And so he basically gave them a $2 million budget. It was like, you guys, go make this movie, $2 million. There you go.
Yeah.
And so they got to work. As I said, they didn't really have a script. So they basically spent about a year coming up with the general outline of the film. And then they decided that basically all of the scenes they were just going to improvise. They were just going to go scene to scene to scene, improvising all the dialogue.
Sure.
And all of these people, I should say, were accomplished comedians. They had all done improv.
Yeah. I mean, you can't do it. Like, you can't just have regular actors and be like, okay, you're going to improv this scene, because a lot of the times they're going to be like, what do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. And all four of them have basically said they couldn't have done it any other way. You know, that really was the only way to make it work. I watched a video just earlier today. It was an interview with them where they talked about sort of, they would do a scene and then they would all sit down and go, well, what worked, what didn't? And then they would just do it again, and they would improvise new lines, and they would do different questions. All the interviews, Rob Reiner would ask a question. They didn't know what the question was, but the three of them had like worked on the band's history. They had the lore in the back pocket, which to me is very D&D.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, well, this is what we did in the 60s, and this is what we did in the 70s, and this is how it happened. And so you just needed to memorize that.
Yeah.
So when Rob Reiner asks you a question, you can riff. You can,
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, they were also, like, inhabiting the characters
Yes.
of, like, you know, we have this history together, but, like, as long as you stick within that history, you can basically make whatever joke and do whatever bit you want.
Yeah, exactly. It was all shot on handheld camera. You know, it's very cinema verite, you know, like you're just seeing everything fly on the wall. The effect that it has is that it comes across as very realistic. I'll actually talk about this a little bit later, but Christopher Guest, in particular, was really big on the idea that, like, when we're playing music, our hands should be in the place where we would be playing this. Like, this needs to be realistic.
I've talked before about my love for Venture Bros. There's an episode where Hank is playing the bass.
Yeah.
And they just sent that to the animators. And so when they animated it and came back, Doc Hammer just played whatever it was that Hank was playing. And it's dumb as hell and doesn't make any sense. But also he's a dumb teenager.
Yeah.
Just
No, it's
how to play the
perfect.
bass.
It's absolutely perfect. So they filmed the movie in about 5 weeks in 1983, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. And then the film came out in 1984, and so we are now going to watch This is Spinal Tap.
Ooh.
I kind of debated for a minute showing you the 20-minute short film. I kind of debated showing the, like, TV show special, and maybe we'll watch that too, but I think it's worth it to just see the movie, not knowing anything else about them first.
Sure.
You know, and then kind of go from there.
Cool. I'm down.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna rock you. I'm gonna rock you tonight. Yeah, all right. Bye.
See y'all.
It's a Such a sunny day. Such a sunny day. Such a sunny day to waste
Hey, dear listeners, Halloween is coming up soon. Are you excited? We sure are. We've got 5 special horror-themed episodes for October where we're going to talk about all our favorite spooky stuff. So make sure to tune in and get your Halloween fix. Anyways, thanks for listening, and back to the show. We are back.
We're back.
So, you said you had seen it before, but it had been a long time and you didn't remember.
Yeah, there were definitely there's a lot of parts that I didn't remember, and I think a lot of jokes that I had better context for now.
Yeah.
Which, like, I caught better.
Yeah.
Also, this DVD does not have subtitles, so I was, like, really focusing on what people were saying to try and, like, hear all of it.
Yeah, it was funny. There are subtitles for, like, different languages, like English and French, but there isn't... Or sorry, for Spanish and French, but there isn't English subtitles.
Yeah.
So, you're kind of like, what? And all the menus in the DVD have, like, the characters commenting on them, which is kind of fun. There's not much of a plot to go over for this.
No, it is Spinal Tap. They're a huge band, and they're going on a new North American tour to promote their new album.
Yeah, but the album's not out yet. It's got an offensive cover, which they sort of describe.
It was Kmart and something else was it Sears?
Sears, yeah.
Kmart and Sears won't carry it because the cover is too provocative.
Yep, and so they have to figure that out, and a bunch of shows on this tour are getting canceled. Finally, the album does come out, and it's just all black. That's it.
Yeah, instead of having the they don't show what it was originally going to be, but they describe it as, like, basically a woman on all fours with, like, a glove being shoved in her face.
Yeah, and she's naked. She's got naked, a dog collar on.
Got a dog collar on.
And and they're like, what? Why would people think it's sexist? It's just like,
yeah, no, is it? He's like, well, yeah, that's the point. It's sexy. No, sexist.
Yeah. And so, basically the tour becomes a disaster. Shows keep getting canceled.
Band tensions are high.
Yep, they do the Stonehenge show, and they get a tiny little Stonehenge, and then they play an Air Force base, and the people at the Air Force base are like, the hell is this?
I realized that part of the reason why I didn't super remember what happened in this movie is because I'm not a huge fan of cringe comedy.
Yeah.
And so, like, there are parts of it where I was just like, we're never thinking about this again.
It's funny because I'm also not really a fan of cringe comedy, but, like, maybe I've just, because I've lived through this. I've lived through a lot of these kinds of things where, you're like this big crazy rock band, and then you show up to play a show, and everyone kind of looks at you and you're like, oh, we're in the wrong place. I've done that in real life.
Oh, no.
That's nothing. Like, that, well, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to tell the story right now because it's kind of relevant, and if it's not funny, I'll cut it. So, in my first band, Intervene, we played a show at a bar in Pataskala called Dapper Dan's, which was like a biker bar. It was like right on Route 40. And we show up, and we open up the door, and we're like, oh, this is not a place where we play. We're like a grunge, like, sludge metal band. And
how old were you?
I was like 19.
Okay.
So we show up, and we get our stuff together, and we start playing it. And Zell, the guitar player in the band, he loved that shit. He was so excited to, like, make people hate us. That was, like, his thing he was happy about. So we go up in front of this biker bar. Absolutely not into what we're doing. And he walks up on stage, and the bartender's like, hey, if you get a little too loud, I'll make this sign, and that means to turn down.
Yeah.
And every single time they did that, he would turn up. Because he was an asshole like that. And I'm freaking out. I'm thinking we're going to get kicked out. And I'm like,
we're going to get our asses kicked.
And I'm not 21, so I'm technically not even supposed to be in there. In the middle of the set, Zell, this was like 2010, he starts yelling, Obama! And everyone in the biker bar is like looking at us, and I'm like, oh, fuck, we're going to die. Oh, no. So we finished the show, and it went over like a wet fart. We finished playing, and everyone just kind of turns and did another thing. And I'm like, great, awesome. And we're loading our gear out. And then these like big biker dudes walked up to us, and I'm like, fuck, we're gonna get our asses kicked by these guys. They walk up and they go, "You guys sound like Black Flag. I love Black Flag." and that was the most gratifying moment of the whole night. I needed that because I thought I was gonna die. Anyway, so I've lived that, and so playing at the Air Force Base, it's a little cringe, but at the same time, like it almost makes me nostalgic. It makes me feel good. I like it.
Didn't you one time play like at a festival, but like the stage was just a bunch of pallets or something like that?
Yeah. I played at a festival once where the stage was the back of like a flatbed. It was like one of those like flatbed trailers.
Yeah.
It was just that with like concrete blocks underneath it to keep it stable, and then it was covered with a tarp. And I played in the rain.
Yeah.
That was hella dangerous. I think I was like 18.
Was that the same band, or is that...
That was the same band.
Okay,
That was
yeah.
Intervene, yeah. That was good times. And then we slept in our car at the campsite that night because it was at a campground.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, dear listeners, I have lived the rock and roll lifestyle. I have made no money. Like sex, drugs, rock and roll, a very nominal amount of sex, few drugs, but plenty of rock and roll. All right, I did plenty of the third one.
Fair.
But it turns out that Sex Farm, the ill-advised lead single of this new album, is top 5 in Japan.
Yeah.
So after this disastrous tour, after Nigel quits the band, and after their
tour manager also quits in favor of the lead singer's girlfriend, who then like absolutely fails.
Yeah.
Falls flat on her face.
They go off to Japan and play a series of sold-out shows, and that's the end of the movie. Really simple plot. The movie's not really about the plot. The plot kind of like sets up some of the character interactions and stuff like that, but it's mostly about the funny bits and interactions between all the characters.
And like just like the little things that are happening. Like there's a shot where both you're gonna have to tell me people's names because I'm so bad at names.
That's fine.
The two main guys, blonde hair and brunette.
That's David St. Hubbins and Nigel Tufnell.
Yeah, David and Nigel both have like cold sores.
Yeah.
And it's not remarked upon.
Yeah.
And it's just a thing. Like they both have cold sores in different places on their mouth, and it's not remarked on. And then like we just move past it.
Yeah. There's a lot of blink and you miss it bits throughout the whole movie.
Oh yeah.
That's definitely something that they talked about. In fact, Roger Ebert, in one of the reviews he did. In fact, you can go on YouTube and you can see the At the Movies review for This Is Spinal Tap by Siskel and Ebert, which is great. It's really fun to watch because it has that classic Siskel and Ebert thing where both of them like the movie, but you can tell they hate each other so much that they want to fight about it. It's actually hysterical. Like Roger,
no, it's great because this, and you're wrong about it. Well, you're wrong because it's great because this.
No, it's like Roger Ebert is like, it's a great movie, and I'll tell you another thing. It's like you got to be smart. You got to be smart to kind of follow along. And Siskel kind of turns and he's just like, "Oh, and you're just so smart, huh?" And he's like, yeah, I am actually. It's just really fucking good. Again, I'll kind of talk about some of the people involved in this movie.
Sure.
Before we kind of talk about it a little bit more. Rob Reiner, the director.
Yes.
This was his first feature-length film that he directed.
Oh.
He had never directed another film before. And I would just like to give you the list of the next couple of films that he would direct. So this was the first one. Next year, he did The Sure Thing, which I've never seen. The year after that, Stand By Me.
Yeah.
The year after that, The Princess Bride.
Yeah.
2 years after that, When Harry Met Sally. The year after that, Misery. 2 years after that, A Few Good Men. 2 years after that, North. Then American President, Ghosts of Mississippi. He had a fucking 10-year hit streak where he just could not miss in the late 80s and early 90s. Kind of insane. Some of those movies were absolutely fantastic. He's also acted in a bunch of stuff. as well. And apparently he's going to be in the new Spinal Tap movie as well.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because so he was part of the framing device. He was the director of the mockumentary.
Yes, he's Marty DeBurgi.
Yeah, and he's like walking around and like doing all of the interviews and stuff. And
yes,
he's the one. If you've seen the clip, though, but this goes to 11. He's the one asking him questions about why don't you just make 10 louder?
Yeah, he kind of fulfills a necessary part of the movie because the other three guys are so over the top and ridiculous. He's the straight man.
Yes.
He's kind of the one who has to ask the questions and kind of just act normal, and everybody else can be sort of funny around. He does a great job. I really do think that it's an inspired bit of filmmaking, and, you know, directed it well, acted in it well.
Yeah.
It was just a funny idea. David St. Hubbins, the singer and guitar player, is played by Michael McKean.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, he got famous for playing Lenny on Laverne and Shirley, but he's been in everything. He was on SNL, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Earth Girls Are Easy, X-Files. He was on an episode of Star Trek Voyager. He did a voice for pretty much every cartoon in the 90s and 2000s. It's really hard to find one that he didn't.
He was Mr. Green in Clue.
He was Mr. Green in Clue. And most recently, he got an Emmy nomination for playing Chuck McGill in Better Call Saul, which is Saul's brother.
Yeah.
The one who's, like, affected by electricity and that kind of stuff, you know. Just a really good actor, done tons of stuff. Really, really good. Harry Shearer, who plays the bass player Derek Smalls, has also been in everything. Like I said, he was a child actor, and then, you know, later on he was in a ton of movies. He was in the 98 Godzilla movie. He was in The Truman Show. Probably the thing he's most known for is he's about half the voices on The Simpsons.
Yes.
He's Ned Flanders, he's Mr. Burns, he's Smithers, he's Principal Skinner, he's Dr. Hibbert, he's Reverend Lovejoy. Everyone.
He also has a long-running radio show called The Show, which is on NPR, and my dad listens to all of the time.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to my dad who let us borrow this DVD.
Yes. Shout out to Hannah's dad. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Pops.
Mm-hmm. And then Christopher Guest, or actually, sorry, the Lord Baron Hayden Guest.
Sorry?
Yeah. Christopher Guest is a lord. His dad was a member of the British peerage. And Christopher Guest actually served in the House of Lords in Parliament until 1999. Basically, at that point, they did a reform where you couldn't inherit a seat in Parliament anymore, which made sense. You had to be appointed by the Prime Minister. He actually had an interesting take on that, because he was like, yeah, it's dumb that you would inherit it, but also it's kind of dumb that the Prime Minister gets to just appoint whoever.
Someone. Yeah.
So he was like, maybe we should have that be elected, which, you know, yeah, good call on that. The thing he's probably most well known for as an actor, aside from this, is that he was Count Rugen in The Princess Bride.
Yeah.
The Six-Fingered Man.
Yeah.
Directed by Rob Reiner. They continued to work together. He's married to Jamie Lee Curtis.
What?
Yeah.
Awesome?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Christopher Guest is a cool guy.
Yeah,
who's
man.
done a lot of great stuff. He's also the one who kind of takes this idea of the mockumentary and kind of runs with it.
Yeah.
Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show, Mighty Wind, a lot of the same people work on it, but Christopher Guest is kind of the main director and writer for all of those.
That's rad.
Yeah, and he's in all three of them as well. We will get to those. We will do episodes on at least those three, I think.
Yeah.
Because
I'm down because I have not seen any of those ones before.
Yes. And a Mighty Wind in particular is very interesting because in that one they play the folksman.
Yeah.
And the folksman is the same three guys in a band. And they actually did Spinal Tap shows where the folksmen opened. And the folksmen were actually introduced as an SNL bit by the three of them in 1984 when they were all on SNL. Mm-hmm. And then they would open for Spinal Tap. But again, a lot of people didn't understand who they were. So they would come out
just
on
the same three guys again.
It's the same three guys. They would come out on stage and people would be like, who the hell are these people? Christopher Guest had a really funny bit one time where he was like, you know, you walk out there and you think you've got control of this because this is all a funny bit. But then you realize that, like, oh no, it's actually not pleasant being that band, being like going out on stage and everyone booing you and being like, "Get out, Spinal Tap!" And he's like, "We are Spinal Tap. That's us."
You both love and hate me.
Yeah. He even said, it was a really cute story. He said that when they did the show, I think it was in the early 90s, he had a son who was like 6 years old at the time. And his son didn't quite understand the dad was like dressed up, and he said his son was just like, Dad, he said to his mom, was just like, "Mom, when do the old guys go off and the loud guys come on?" And he was just like, which is perfect. That's exactly what we wanted people to feel about that.
Yeah.
Really good stuff. Just a few of the other actors. There are so many people making like little cameos in this. I'll just try and briefly go over it. But a couple of the major characters. A guy by the name of Tony Hendra plays band manager Ian Faith. He was the one who wrote for National Lampoon in the 70s.
Yeah.
Produced, directed, and wrote a stage show called Lemmings. And that helped launch the careers of like Chevy Chase and John Belushi and Christopher Guest. He was in that too.
Mm-hmm.
He co-created the show Spitting Image, which is that creepy British puppet show, like satire political thing.
Creepy British puppet show. You're going to have to be a little bit more specific, but
I'll show you what it is later. But like, if you think right now, like the Land of Confusion Genesis video, like that was the Spitting Image. Apparently, they're still going. I watched some a little while ago that was fairly new. Unfortunately,
that's horrible. I hate it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just looking at the Spitting Image puppets. Hey, British people, are you guys doing okay?
No, apparently they're not. And now there was this guy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in the 2000s, I kind of didn't want to bring this up, but I felt like we couldn't really talk about this guy if I didn't bring this up. Tony Hendra had some fairly credible sexual assault allegations made against him. He's never convicted or anything like that, but, it was published in a newspaper, and the reporters who published on it said that they did their due diligence and they thought that it was, correct. Kind of an awful situation.
Yeah, that's rough.
He died of ALS a couple of years back, so he's not around anymore either way.
Yeah.
But, yeah. The drummer, Mick Shrimpton, is played by a guy named...
I'm sorry, what is his name?
Mick Shrimpton.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just call him that in the movie?
They did.
Oh, okay. I thought you said that that you meant that the actor's actual name was Mick Shrimpton.
No. Rick Parness is his real name.
Honestly, pretty still rock and roll name.
Yep. He was a professional drummer. In the 70s, he actually joined the prog rock band called Atomic Rooster, which was founded by members of the Crazy World of Arthur Brown.
Oh, yeah.
They Bring You Fire.
They
really,
do.
really good stuff. And then after they broke up, he played for a couple of Italian rock bands at the time. The story that apparently he tells is that Steve Perry went to him and offered him a spot to play drums in Journey, and he turned it down because he was like, "I don't know about this."
Yeah.
And he was like, "That was a huge mistake."
Oops.
That was in the late 70s, but yeah. He was also in a band in the 90s called Donovan's Brain, which I don't like that. First of all, Donovan's Brain is not a good place. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Just looking at it, you're deeply uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's real bad. Hell of a career. A lot of stuff. Viv Savage, the keyboardist, was played by a guy named David Caff. He was in a prog rock band also in the 70s called Rare Bird. They had a hit that he played on. So,
I like how in the movie he had one full line and it was as the credits were happening. He's he's always in the background and hanging out, and he's in there when they're doing the shows and stuff, but the only full complete line that he has is as the credits are rolling.
I don't know. My favorite thing that he says in the whole movie is when after Nigel leaves, David turns to him and it's just like, "Hey, during when we play Big Bottom, can you play a low end like he does?" He's like, "Yeah, I got two hands." It's just like, all right, cool. Janine Pettibone is played by June Chadwick. She was British, but she did a ton of American TV. The thing she did the most was that show V in the 80s, the one where the aliens
Oh, the
are invading.
aliens, yeah.
The one that they had the Marina Baccarin remake 10 years ago.
Yeah.
She was on Magnum P.I., Murder, She Wrote, MacGyver, Matlock, all that kind of stuff. Ask your grandparents, they know who she is. The limo driver, Tommy Piscata, was played by a guy named Bruno Kirby. Bruno Kirby was in a ton of TV in the late 60s all the way to the 2000s. MASH, Columbo, Kojak. He was in Godfather 2. He was in City Slickers. And he was the voice of Reggie Stout in Stuart Little.
Aw, nice.
Yeah, I love his whole Sinatra bit. Anybody out there who knows Italians, you know a guy who's going to just go off about how Frank Sinatra is a better musician than anyone else in existence.
Yeah.
So Stumpy, the drummer in the flashback where they were in the 60s there, that was Ed Begley Jr.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, he was in tons of stuff. He was Dr. Ehrlich on St. Elsewhere. He was on Veronica Mars, Better Call Saul, Young Sheldon most recently.
He was in Arrested Development. He was the bald guy.
Mm-hmm. He actually is going to end up being in a bunch of these mockumentary films going forward.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Bobby Fleckman is played by Fran Drescher.
Yeah, Fran Drescher.
She was the nanny, obviously.
Yeah.
And she still works. And the coolest fucking thing about her that I learned while doing research for this, she's the current president of SAG-AFTRA.
Yeah, and when the SAG strikes was going on, like, she was pushing really hard for, like, better and better contracts. Like, Fran Drescher goes to bat for her people.
Hell yes. We stand for the nanny in this house.
Yeah.
We standy for the nanny.
We standy for the nanny. We stand for a union, man.
Yeah. Hi, I'm a Teamster. Currently. The hotel clerk. Name was Tucker Brown, apparently. Smitty.
Oh, the guy with the big Coke bottle glasses?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
His name is Paul Benedict. Paul Benedict was the number painter on Sesame Street way back when.
Oh, my God. That's why I recognized.
Yeah.
Like, I was looking at him, I'm like, his face looks familiar, but, like, I literally don't know where.
He's also the neighbor Harry Bentley from The Jeffersons.
Uh-huh.
And he also is in a few more of these mockumentary films going forward. We'll see him again. Air Force Lieutenant Bob Hookstratton. Fred Willard.
Oh, yeah.
Fred Willard, tons of stuff. Austin Powers, Harold Kumar, Anchorman, Wall-E. He's like the guy who does the videos in Wall-E.
Yeah, the live action man in Wall-E. That's this guy.
Ton of stuff, and he's in a bunch more of these mockumentaries too. Fred Willard's a hilarious guy.
He's so funny.
Yeah. And there's so many other cameos. One of the mimes was Dana Carvey. The other one was Billy Crystal. Mime is money. What a great joke.
Oh my God.
The promoter, Artie Fufkin. Artie Fufkin, Palmer Records.
Yeah.
That is Paul Schaefer. He was the band leader for David Letterman for years. He was that guy.
Yeah. Again, I was like, this guy's face is familiar, but I can't place him.
Yeah. There's a lady in the movie, Polly Deutsch. I don't remember seeing her. I don't remember which character she is, but that's Angelica Houston, a.k.a. Morticia Addams.
Was she the skinny goth lady that the guy was checking out her ass?
No, I think that was just an interview from the beginning of the movie, although that is very funny.
Okay.
I do like that idea. Yeah, I think that was just some random person, because I know they did some interviews with random people.
Oh, like fully random. Okay.
Yeah, and that was originally in the 20-minute short film, and then they reused that for the film. Yeah. There's a bunch more. If I'm forgetting some, there's like, I'm sorry, but there's just so many. I can't talk about all of them.
This movie is a little bit like that one gig that like the Velvet Underground played, that where like 6 people showed up, but then all 6 of those people went on to be like in other bands.
Yeah, totally. That's the reception of this film became iconic because, look, it made money. It had a budget of $2 million. It made about $6 million. In box office, which is a good return. And then obviously, probably sold a ton in the secondary market, VHS, all that kind of stuff.
VHS, DVD, Blu-ray.
But, the fact of the matter is that, this had a huge influence not just on, movie culture and general pop culture, but also, music culture.
Oh, yeah.
Tons of rock stars later on came out and, talked about Spinal Tap. Some of them loved it, thought it was hilarious. Some of them hated it. Some of them were, really upset. Apparently Steven Tyler got really depressed when he watched the movie, because he was just like, this is just what it is. This is just how it is,
Okay, guy, calm down.
A lot of the bits were either inspired by real life things, or sometimes it was just synchronicity. It was Black Sabbath had a Stonehenge set piece that was the wrong size, except theirs was too big, so it couldn't get in the theater. And when the movie came out, they were like, oh, you did that as a joke against us. But that happened after they filmed the movie, but before it came out. It was like 82 or 83.
Wow.
So like literally it just happened at the same time. The getting lost in the arena scene is apparently from like a Tom Petty thing, but tons of musicians have said, oh, that was based on us, right? No, it happens. It happens
a lot,
time.
apparently. Yeah, man. The backstage in theaters, there's so much stuff back there because they're storing like 8 different sets for different shows, and also everybody has dressing rooms, and like there's just a bunch of shit back there, and it's easy to get lost.
Yeah. Metallica literally released the Black Album. That happened like not even 10 years later, to the point where like there's a funny interview where the like Spinal Tap meets with the Metallica guys backstage and they make fun of them for stealing their album idea. And the guys from Metallica are just laughing because they're like, yeah, we totally did.
Absolutely, we did. Steal from the best, yo.
Really fantastic stuff. Christopher Guest has said a few times that like musicians will come up to him and say, hey, I love the movie, it's great, and then they'll say, you based that on this, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, he's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. They're like, no, because this exact thing happened. He's just like, I'm sure it did. I don't doubt you, but I have no idea who you're talking about or what you're talking about.
That's when you know that like the satire and the parody is good, because it's literally holding a mirror up to actual things that have happened and just being like, do you see this? Do you see how ridiculous and funny this is?
There was a great interview that they did. I think it was in like the 90s. It was back when the movie was still a little more fresh in pop culture, but it had been out for a little while. So like, the pop culture had kind of digested it. And they were doing an interview out of character, which is rare. Usually when they do interviews, they do it in character. But they were asking questions to all of them, and like one of the things they said is like, what do you want people to take away from this? And they all kind of looked at each other and like, I don't know. And then I think it was Harry Shearer, and then the other guys kind of agreed. Basically, he said like, for at least like 48 hours after you watch this film, I encourage you to watch a music video or like watch a band perform and just remember how ridiculous this is.
Yeah.
And like, 'cause especially at the time, like, rock and roll was very serious. Now it's...
So here's the thing though, is that like rock and roll is not as serious, but like people take Taylor Swift deadly serious.
Yeah,
like it's one of those things where we currently have so much access to celebrity lives through like Instagram or TikTok or Twitter or goddamn whatever, but also like you might get shots of like behind the scenes stuff, but like Taylor Swift is never going to tell you if she got lost in the stadium trying to get to the show. No.
Also, she's got like a million handlers. Like there's no way that would ever happen.
Yeah, that would never happen to
her. And the movie, it was an immediate success, but not like a huge success. It was like an immediate modest success.
Yeah.
Like I said, it kind of was a cult classic, but then it sort of transcended cult classic into being just a classic. From the very beginning, reviews were fantastic. Everyone thought it was like a really brilliant like film. Mm-hmm. They were like, wow, like this, it's funny, it's kind of insightful, the music's pretty good. It's not great, it's sort of played up and overdone, but it's written by those 3 guys. Like they wrote that music. They perform it live. In fact, in 1992, which was 10 years after the final tour happened and 8 years after the movie came out, they did a tour, they did a tour, and then they did sort of a kind of a sequel. It was called Spinal Tap Returns, and it was a concert movie. So it's like an hour and 40-something minutes long, and they play a bunch of songs, and then it's interspersed with like interviews and comedy bits and stuff, including the Folksmen opening for them, and then basically being like, actually, guys, you can just stay down here. You don't have to, That was, and they've over the years kind of gotten together and done more shows, released albums. In the fiction, they've released like 25 albums or whatever it is. But in reality, they've only released, I think, 3 albums. And I believe the one in 92 was Break Like the Wind. That was the... In 2007, I want to say, there was Live Earth, which was like a... It was like Live Aid, but it was for global warming. It was like to raise awareness and money.
I remember that, yeah.
They got back together to perform at that, and they created a new song called Warmer Than Hell, which was sort of an anti-global warming song, kind of. And in 2009, they did a new tour, which was the, I believe, Back from the Dead tour. And that was the one that had the Folksmen opening for them as they went around. I think at that point, people got the joke a little bit more. And I think people knew exactly like what was going on. At that point, the Mighty Wind had come out.
Yes, I was going to say.
People kind of knew the bit better. Although Mighty Wind was kind of a cult classic on its own. It was not a hugely popular or successful. All of those 3 albums they released charted. Like, they did pretty well. It's a legitimate career. They're legitimate musicians. They're all very good.
Yeah, I wanted to say really quickly, there was a thing that I was noticing in the movie, in Spinal Tap the movie, is that when a lot of them were like just kind of riffing on music, a lot of the music that they would do would be it's like more melodic, not quite like heavy metal.
Yeah.
So like there's that scene when the brunette one, what's his face? Nigel. He's like playing the piano and he's playing this like very melodic, very pretty sort of tune. And then when Nigel and David are like they're talking about like the first song that they wrote together as kids, it's like kind of like a
it's like a skiffle.
Yeah. And Derek Smalls, the bass player, he's like, we got to do like jazz fusion.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of interesting to be watching it of like these guys. The rock and roll thing, it feels like it's almost like it's a mask that they're putting on.
Yeah.
Like they're performing being rock and roll stars.
I think that's part of the satire too, because at the time and even now to a certain extent, but especially at the time, there was certainly an idea about musicians, especially rock stars, that they weren't like real musicians, that they were just sort of like meatheads who learned a few chords and like they weren't sophisticated. And so when they interviewed like, oh, who are your influences? Like they were tripping over themselves to say, I love jazz, I love classical. It was like a whole big thing.
Yeah.
Whether or not a lot of them actually did was a little more debatable, but like they would at least say those things, and that's kind of part of the joke, I think, I mean, the pop culture influence that this movie has had, like, the whole goes to 11 thing.
Yeah, that's
common parlance.
Yes.
Like, people who have never seen Spinal Tap have no idea what it is will say, oh, it goes up to 11.
It goes up to 11,
because it's just cultural.
We got to turn it up to 11.
It's just osmosed into, like, the pop culture. It's kind of wild. And after this movie came out, like, literal music gear started being released with 11s on it. Like, it was, some even went even higher. Like, it was a whole thing.
As a gearhead, was 11 louder than 10, or did they just make a different number?
It's just just a potentiometer.
Yeah.
All that is just a knob, and so when it's all the way one way, there's no signal going through, and when it's all the way the other way, there's
the most signal
going through. And so the loudness has nothing to do with that knob. Absolutely. The knob is just controlling how loud it is at the moment. The total volume has nothing to do with the knob.
Speaking of things that have culturally osmosed themselves in, None More Black.
None More Black.
Yeah. When they get the album and it's completely black, and the guy's like, well, how much more black could it be? None more black. And like, none more blank, like that's definitely a thing that people say a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. None more whatever. Yeah. I will once again mention too that the whole movie was improvised, essentially. Like, a couple of small actors and characters they gave like a script to because they wanted them to say a specific thing, but like all of the main interactions are all improvised.
Yeah, like here's the point of this scene, here's where we need to be at when we're done. How you get there is your own problem.
Yep. Apparently they wanted to credit all of the actors as writers.
Oh yeah.
But the Writers Guild was not cool with that. So they had to limit it to just the 3 main guys and Rob Reiner. Which makes sense.
Yeah.
They're kind of the main guys in the film. They were the ones who really storyboarded the whole thing. I get it. Spinal Tap continues to this day. In 2017, Shearer, McKean, Christopher Guest, and Rob Reiner actually filed a lawsuit against Studio Canal, UMG, and Vivendi, who owned the rights to the film and the music, because apparently they hadn't been getting any money for like music or merchandise for like 30 years.
Are you fucking serious?
Harry Shearer supposedly said that he got a check for like $180 and then that was it.
That's insane.
Some ridiculously low amount of money. It was initially thrown out and then it was refiled. Like, they got all the T's crossed, and it was settled out of court in 2019. I suspect, I have no proof of this, but I suspect that that's the reason why we're getting a new movie now.
Yeah, because they were tied up in legal battles.
Yeah, and that they probably didn't want to do it before if they weren't getting any, money out of it, any kind of royalties or anything like that. So the new movie's going to come out soon. I saw the trailer. Some of it looks pretty funny. It kind of has some classic retrospective documentary stuff going on. The one thing I'm a little concerned about with the Spinal Tap movie is that there are lots of celebrity musician cameos. Like Paul McCartney's in it, and Elton John's in it, and Questlove's in it and stuff. Ooh. The Questlove bit is actually very funny because they're like, well, do you want to play drums for us? And he's like, I don't want to die.
Yeah, man.
Which is pretty good. Apparently in real life, they just, they killed off Mick Shrimpleton, and they replaced him with Rick Shrimpleton, which is his brother, his younger twin brother.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
All in all, it was a good movie. If you like humor and or music, probably watch it.
Yeah. I would also recommend watching the next mockumentary film made by these guys called Waiting for Guffman. Waiting for Guffman is about a local community theater production. So it has a lot of similar foibles. I think it's fantastic.
So this is the one that I know literally nothing about. Yep. I didn't even know it was about a local theater. Mm-hmm. I've heard the name Waiting for Guffman a lot, and I know Best in Show is about dogs, and Mighty Wind is about folk music. Yeah. But I know literally nothing about Waiting for Guffman.
Well, then you'll have to tune in next time and find out about it.
Aw, dang.
Here we go.
Hey,
so this is Spinal Tap.
This is Spinal Tap.
And I have been Donovan.
I've been Hannah.
And I recommend all of you go out there and turn it up to 11.
And every day.
Every day.
Hit it big in Japan.
Oh, man. I dream of hitting it big in Japan. Are you kidding me?
Spinal Tap and Mr. Big, you'll have great company over there.
Yeah, and Cheap Trick.
Yeah,
Cheap Trick is the Beatles of Japan. They're huge over there.
All
right. Well, see you next time.
Doodles.
Thanks for listening. You can find us at mythingyourthing.com or at mythingyourthingpod on social media. Thanks to RK Maroon for letting us use their song Macaroni Art from the EP You Can't Eat Horses. You can get it at rkmaroon.bandcamp.com. If you have a thing you think we should talk about, email us at mythingyourthingpod@gmail.com, and maybe that could be our thing.